Hello, everyone, and welcome back once more. I'm here with Wendy again, and we're going to start to explore our DNA, our 12-strand DNA. We've had a request to go further into this, and there is an awful lot here, actually, when you begin to unpack it. So we're going to see where we go with it, and see, it will probably be more than one take. We'll look at this over sort of several different sessions, maybe. But yeah. Wendy.
Perfect. I'm so delighted to be here with you again, Sarah. And like you say, we did get a request for this, and I was so pleased when I saw the request come in because I thought there's something in me that's both mesmerized by the topic we're going to unpack together, and also part of me wants to go, oh, it's DNA. It sounds a bit like mathematical. I don't know if I really want to like dig in there. I probably won't understand it, so it's like I think it might be an old school wounding or something.
I think we've all got those.
So I'm going to really relax and lean into your knowing on this, and I'm going to like really take us back to the beginning with this subject and just, maybe speak to me as though I know nothing at
Yeah.
all. I mean, I have read some of your beautiful work on this, but I really feel like what might be a great place to start is what on earth is a 12-strand DNA? Like, let's just unpack this together. Take us right back to the beginning. What do we need to know about this?
Oh, yeah. Well, let's think about what our DNA does for starters, and uh, we can go all sciencey on that, but that's not, I think, what's needed here. It's a basic kind of overview of what our DNA is, and I'm very like you. I mean, from school onwards, it was like science stuff was so badly taught. And I know, I struggled to make it relevant to my life, which is just another example of how badly it's taught. Um, but I started to see, as I delved into esoteric topics more and more and more, and metaphysical teachings, I started to see where the overlaps came in, and then it started to fascinate me to sort of see where one supported the other, as it were. But I always put my emphasis into the metaphysical side of things first, because that's what flows through me and what I access so easily. And this is coming from a greater knowledge base than our scientists are pulling on. Our scientists, with the way they work and the tram lines, shall we say, that they have to work in, are very blinkered in their approach and very limited in their approach to things. So they miss the bigger picture a lot of the time. But it is fascinating to see where they do touch in together. Now, we're all aware of DNA as this sort of double helix, this two-strand helix. We've seen that it's a very physical depiction of what the scientists are saying they're finding under the microscope. And when I first started feeling into DNA and trying to understand, the part DNA played, because I would see this helix twisting and winding in meditations and things sometimes, and there was a very, very particular one that was at a menhir in Spain, of all places. And it was so clear that the menhir was speaking to me with this code, this DNA code. And it was kind of like, get my head around this. And I came to understand long before I really had delved into 12-strand DNA that DNA was about information.
Okay.
It carries information. And the more strands of your DNA are open and activated and accessible to you, the more information you can get, because the whole purpose of DNA is it's an instruction set, or a series of instruction sets that work with our templates, our light body templates, and we really haven't talked about that at all. But it works with our light body templates, and it's the way, not just this form takes shape, it gives the instructions for, well, I've got grey hair now, but, I did have brown hair at one point, and, things like this, and brown eyes, and etc., etc. It's not just that level of instruction sets, but it's instruction sets for how we interact with the reality fields that we've created around us. So there's a holographic element to it. There's an information element to it. And it works with our light body template, but it also works with the greater information fields within which that template sits. So there's this constant interaction going on in both directions. I mean, I talk about the human body as being, I call it a transceiver, which is both a receiver and a transmitter. And our DNA is really it's like the, you know, those old-fashioned telephone switchboards. It's like one of those, really, constantly, you know, sort of plugging in information here, sending it there, sending stuff back out, etc., etc. And it's constantly moving, constantly changing, constantly interacting with the fields within which we sit, changing the instruction sets into the physical body, you know, directing chemicals, the release of chemicals, because of, you know, so that there may be a sense of danger from the outside. So immediately, you know, adrenaline and all things like this kick in, or whatever it might be. So, you know, it affects the physical body, but it also, we're reading the fields, we're interacting with the fields, and particularly when we're doing meditation, things like this, or we're very deliberately trying to send a particular type of energy out, we're putting that into the fields and making that part of the fields and maybe directing it to where it can go. So, you know, it integrates us totally into our environment, as it were, at every single level.
Wow. And so that's the role of DNA, is to
Well,
integrate.
that's part of the role of DNA. I mean, other things also take place within it, but our DNA very powerfully at that level. It's not just this two-strand thing. It's a very alive, very conscious, very aware, very yeah, alive is the best way of saying it. It's constantly moving, constantly changing, and that's, a lot of people will have heard of epigenetics, and that's really it's a new field of research that's come in, really to do with health and the physical body to a very large extent, but it's how we interact with our environment again around us, and how our environment affects us and can affect changes in us. So, you know, at the simplest level, the food we eat, how if we change our diet from being one of junk food to being one of good quality, highly nutritional food, how it then affects our body, and our body upgrades itself into better states of health and better ways of functioning. Well, you know, that's working with the DNA. The DNA is involved in all of that, because it's getting a different set of messages from the physical body about the nutrition coming into it. And as a consequence, it can say, now I can heal that, now I can mend that. And it's, you know, directing things accordingly.
Oh, I really love that insight. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but, you know, there's a whole metaphysical level as well of that going on. A metaphysical basically just means beyond physical.
Mhm.
So we've got that aspect of it. There is also another, I mean, most people know this, whether they ever stop to really think about it, I don't know. But this is one of the first things when I encountered DNA, it was like, yeah, but that doesn't make sense. And that is that scientists tell us that 97% of our DNA is junk.
Wow.
97% of our DNA is not active and not actively used in the way our body functions. Now, part of that is because they have no understanding of metaphysics. But also a large part of that is because a huge amount of our DNA has been shut down. So they see under a microscope, you know, this double helix, and that's about it. But one of the things our DNA, and we're going to go into this hopefully in a little bit more detail at some point, but one of the things our DNA enables us to do is to tune into the planetary fields. I mean, our DNA sits within our physical body, but it also sits within our light body. It straddles the two, as it were. And from the light body aspect of things, it connects into the Earth's light body and the energy grids of the Earth that are part of the Earth's light body. So, you know, we are connected to the planet, and the planet is connected to us, and messages run both ways, as it were, within it. Now, we know, or people who can do it know from reading the Earth fields and the Earth histories, and from being able to look at our light body, the pure light body template that we originated from, that the original angelic human being had 12 strands of DNA. And most of them have been shut down. They've been mutated and shut down. Now, it's fascinating to then think, well, why? How did that happen? And there's a whole history around that that maybe we'll get into on another another chat. But it's interesting to know that scientists can also see this under the microscope. Now, if I'd been very clever, I'd have gone and looked this up before talking to you, but there's something, I think it's called a FOX2 gene, or, I mean, there are various chromosomes. There are two chromosomes in particular. Greg Braden is very good on this. He's put this information out there. There are a couple of chromosomes where it is very, very clear that there has been not natural mutation or change, there's been intervention.
Wow.
Yeah. And that, I mean, at the time when he was discovering that, I was diving deep into Anunnaki history and things like that. And again, maybe that's another topic at another time. But I mean, within the Anunnaki, the Earth Anunnaki histories, they effectively like to call themselves creator gods. And say that they created mankind. They didn't, but they did mess about with mankind's DNA. And they did splice their DNA and mankind's DNA and ape DNA together.
Okay.
So there are, you know, there are stories from our past that tell of intervention in our DNA. And scientists are then, you know, it was a big aha moment for me when I heard Greg Braden saying this, because it was kind of like, yeah, well, you know, that's where mythology and science are really sort of beginning to tell something of the same story. So,
Okay.
you know, that's just one aspect of the intervention and the mutation and the digression that's happened with our DNA. So this 97% that is junk is not junk. It is actually, it's where our birthright as angelic human beings lies. We are a shadow of the creatures that we should be. Because, I mean, it's like taking a beautiful, wonderful golden eagle and then keeping it blindfold and clipping its wings.
Okay. Okay. So what I'm hearing here then is deep human potential that is currently untapped because it's been tampered with. Is that
Yeah.
right? Am I hearing that
Yeah.
right? Okay.
It's, yeah, I mean, a large part of it is because it's been tampered with. Some of it is natural digression and fall from being in very deep density. I mean, there was damage done to our DNA, and I mean, that's a huge story. I've been pulling in so much information about around the very, very, very early histories of where that came from. Recently, and it's kind of like every time I think I've got to the end, oh no, there's a whole nother layer opens up. But you know, there's been a history within our time matrix, within our universe, of consciousness gradually falling, and it's come down. It started at the very highest levels and it's come down through the dimensional layers, and here we are in deep density where there's a lot of compression, and so you know, we've come into this dimension with damage because of catastrophes that have happened prior to this. And then between the infiltration that has happened and kind of invasions on Earth by various alien species and things like that, our DNA has been digressed even further. It's been messed with, it's been hybridized, DNA is in the galaxy, particularly with fallen species, is currency. It's absolute gold. And out of all of the DNA out there, human DNA, because of what its potential is, what it can do, human DNA is carries a very high value. So the ability to, and part of it relates to what we carry within our DNA to do with the Earth grids, the stargates, things like this on the Earth. We carry coding. Within the makeup of our DNA are these energetic keys and codes that are like being able to put a key in a lock, and it unlocks access to certain things.
Okay.
Particularly those of human consciousness who have lost that, they've digressed themselves away from that. Being able to pick up those keys and codings, very, very, very attractive.
Okay.
But they don't want the power of I mean, when we're a 12-strand being, we're incredibly powerful, and these creatures can't come near us, so they don't want us at that level.
Okay.
The more they can keep stepping us down until we're dumb farm animals, the better, because then they can just keep taking from our DNA and using our DNA without us really putting up any protest about it. So they've been very, very happy to see us spiral down and helped us, really given us a huge shove on the way into this, where we're totally unaware, to a very large extent, totally unaware of what we're capable of and what we can do and what we hold within us.
So, Sarah, this is fascinating. I'm really mindful of time, and I'm mindful of just, wrapping this first recording in this series up now. So, in summary, what we're saying here is that, we are operating no longer as 12-strand DNA human beings. We've fallen and have had things done to us and our DNA where we don't even recognize, if you like, that we're in that situation.
Yeah.
And that we are being used as farm animals for this. So this is really fascinating to me. My ears are pricked because obviously I'm now looking for some good news stories, some things that I might be able to do to kind of bring some of these 12, strands back on stream. I wonder if that might be the topic of our next discussion together.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm up for it, because it's quite simple at one level, very difficult at another, because it's all around you and your behaviors.
Perfect. I love it. Okay, I think that I can hardly wait to record the next installment.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for watching, and thank you, Wendy, and we'll be back.